Oh, I don't pay for suits. My suits are on the house, or the house burns down.
Welcome back to the Red Right Hand Podcast, the show that covers each and every episode of the BBC hit show The Peaky Blinders. In this podcast, we're working our way through each and every episode of the show. Today's episode is Season 1, Episode 4. I'm Josh.
I'm Curtis.
And let's just get into this. I broke up today's episode into 3 parts. The first one is the Lee family. The second is Snowy Boots. And the third is a wedding. Do you have any just initial reactions to the episode as a whole as you were rewatching this one?
Well, it was kind of an up and down episode. Felt like a lot of good parts, a lot of sad parts. A couple of tears were shed, maybe. No, it was a good episode, I thought. So, I mean, it's just they seem to get better and better with every episode. So, what about you?
Yeah, it's good overall. I think the closer we get to the end of the season, the more I'm ready to get into some of the bigger things that are, where they get from some of the moves that they're making now. We're just seeing like the base work being laid throughout the first episode for all of Tommy's kind of grand plans.
It's a great season, but it's one of those where it's like you're having to put all the foundation into place, and you try to figure out all these backstories, different stuff like that. Whereas I'm ready to get into the meat of it. Like you're saying, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just basically gets me more pumped for the later seasons and some of the stuff that's gonna be coming.
Yeah.
So the episode starts out and we see Freddie and Ada return from London on some kind of steamboat. They're passing through just some of the waterways there, kind of sneaking back into Birmingham. Freddie was meeting with a Russian who sent money with him for their cause, for the revolution that Freddie's trying to help get started. Once they get back, he meets with Stanley Chapman and gives him money that he got from the Russian. Stanley Chapman says that the revolution is international and grows by the day. Then we see Tommy walking through the streets. He talks with the Reverend that we saw in the first episode, just on the street corner, just randomly talking. His name's Jeremiah. He tells Tommy that Ada and Freddie have returned from London, but he doesn't know where they're staying. He says Freddie's like a fish. He's just so hard to catch. Tommy basically just tells him to keep looking.
So he's basically his spy on the street, his eyes on the street, I guess you used to say.
Yeah, because
they have some. I think they were in the war together. I think at one point we hear that they were actually in a company together, or at least fought together or whatever in the war.
Yeah. But this is the first time we kind of see. In the first episode, it almost feels like he's just going to be a background character. Like he's just somebody who you might see on the street a lot. But yeah, this is the first episode where they kind of start bringing him in. We'll see more of him and him involved kind of in their business.
Right.
Outside the Blinders book, I'm calling that building the book. The place where they're making all the bets and calling it the book. Outside the Blinders book, a wagon full of Lee men waits. A boy goes in and makes a bet and then sneaks into the back of the house to hide and wait.
But here's the thing about it, though. Go back, because he's walking up. Tommy's walking up to the book, and he stops because he sees that guy standing by the horse in the wagon. And he kind of thinks about it for a second, then he walks on. It's like, I mean, you would think he'd be so paranoid of like, okay, why is this wagon and a horse just chilling out in the street out here? I mean, that's not something that they see every day. I mean, hell, he's the only one that you've ever really seen riding the horses around the street.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So you would think it would have been kind of a red flag. So I always kind of wondered, it's like, why? I mean, you didn't really look into it, man. You just kind of like looked at it, and you're like, eh, you know. And then you walked on. It's like, okay, I'm just a little confused because, again, like I said, I would think he'd be so, you know, paranoid, having the eyes in the back of his head, you know, always watching his surroundings or whatever. But
yeah, it was kind of a weird move for him. But so this boy goes inside and places a bet. He sneaks into the back of the house to hide and wait. And after everyone except for Scudboat leaves, the boy opens the back door to let the Lee men into the house. There should have been 2 guys guarding the place. It should have been John and Scudboat, but Aunt Polly and Tommy leave because John wants to meet with them at the garrison. He says he has something to talk to him about. So the boy lets the men in. They beat Scudboat and take the money. Raz says that they're just taking back what's theirs, and that it was just payback for what happened at the Cheltenham races.
because he's got all that bandaged ear up from when Arthur cut it off. It was
Yeah.
a nice little souvenir.
I did want to point out, too, just the disgusting colors of the suits of some of those guys. One of them was wearing literally like a puke green,
Was it really? I didn't
like
know.
shiny suit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. Well, gypsies, you know.
At the garrison, John has gathered the family to tell them he plans to marry Lizzie Stark, who is a local whore. They laugh at John and criticize his decision. John basically like kind of pleads his case here and kind of tries to not make himself look so bad. He says that she's changed, that the past is the past, and
Right.
he wants Tommy to see that, and
Well, he wants his blessing, basically.
yeah, he says that he won't marry her without Tommy's blessing.
Right.
So, and then we get there too that at the beginning of that discussion that John had a wife, but she died, and her name was Martha, and they've got kids. I don't know how many kids they have already, 2 or 3.
I don't know. That's what I was going to say. How many kids do I don't think we ever really figured out. And they don't really ever say, I don't think.
No, it's
to be
just like
honest.
later you see like them with their kids when they, like, you see more of them like with the kids. But
Right, but it's one of those where it's like, okay, well, how many of those were actually his, from that marriage or whatever.
Yeah. John says he needs a wife to help him with his children. Says he won't marry her without Tommy saying it's okay. And then Finn busts into the room and tells them that the Lees have robbed them, basically. He says that they've been done over. Back at the book, Scudboat explains what happened. And they go over the losses. As they're kind of assessing the damage, Tommy finds a pair of wire cutters in the room. And they basically kind of have to explain to Aunt Polly what's going on there. But Tommy says in France, when they would give up ground to the Germans, they'd leave behind traps for them. And wire cutters as a joke. They'd leave some kind of explosive behind on a wire and leave wire cutters, basically as a taunt to them.
It's a horrible practical joke,
Yeah.
I gotcha. What the hell? But yeah, I mean, you can tell, like, when they found him, I mean, everybody but Aunt Polly, I mean, just like the look on their faces was like, for the love of God, don't move. Because there's a tripwire somewhere, or, something's attached to something. And of course she's just like, oh, whatever, like, for the love of God, don't move, don't even breathe.
Yeah.
Well,
and they know exactly what it is because they did it.
Right, exactly.
So they basically realize that they've already kind of walked through the house and that they can't be in the house because they would have already set it off. So Tommy says that his name was on the bullet, so it's a trap kind of specifically set for him.
Right.
So he goes out to the garage in the car, and Finn is out there sitting in the driver's seat. Tommy's just kind of trying to get him to be careful and climb out the way he got in, but he opens the door and runs out, which pulls the pin on the grenade. Tommy grabs it, throws it out of the garage, and just barely manages to get it away from Finn and himself before it goes off. Those poor guys on the street.
He's like, hey, look out. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it throws it out there, blows up right behind a couple guys.
Man. I threw it into a factory door, too.
Yeah. But then he grabs Finn and he says, that's why you should never pretend to be me. Because when he was sitting in the driver's seat of the car, he was saying that he was pretending to be Tommy driving the car.
I like you, man. It's kind of a weird moment too. Well, I don't say weird, but I mean, he's telling me, I was like, that's why you should never be me, and like, they kind of get up and he's kind of assessing the damage across the way, and him and Finn kind of hold hands, and just kind of like a little sweet moment though between brothers, and you see that he actually really cares. He's got a heart, people. He has a heart.
So kind of after that, the scare with Finn, Tommy wants to get a meeting with the Lee family. So the next scene is Johnny Dogs walking Tommy through the Lee camp under a white flag. He gets him a meeting with the matriarch of the family, and Johnny Dogs says... he says something like, you at least thank me. It's easier to see the Pope, like, these days.
It's true, yeah.
So, again, Johnny kind of being the go-between for some of these other families and the Lees. So, he gets into the wagon with her and starts talking to her about... just a little back and forth. We try to get you, you try to get us. It's not benefiting anybody. And he basically just says that people are going to get hurt, that a child almost died because of this.
Right.
He basically tells her that he plans to betray Kimber, and he wants to set an alliance up with them. Because Kimber's not the brains that runs the races, and he doesn't really need Kimber,
right? Which is kind of one of those, like, how long did you have that planned out that you were gonna betray Billy Kimber? Like, if you had it planned out even from the beginning, from that first meeting, like what, episode 2 at the very end where they had that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of pushed it pretty far, man. Where your little brother almost got killed. Just so you can kind of lure, some people into this false sense of, well, I'm on this person's side and I'm against you, but I'm really going to betray this person that I'm with and get on your side or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how long he had that planned. I mean, I figured eventually once he figured out... I can't imagine that because I feel like he didn't know that far back that... Kimber didn't control everything going on there, or that Kimber wasn't.
You don't think so?
I don't know. I mean, I think some of those decisions are made based on the things that happened to him. I mean, we see him make a lot of like fast play decisions,
right?
Based on the curveballs that gets thrown, So
well, at the same time, I just think like he doesn't, and we're gonna see more and more as the seasons go. He doesn't have safe plans. I mean, they're very dangerous, and he's willing to kind of put a lot of people in the crosshairs, and sacrifice a lot, I guess. I don't know. He's just kind of living dangerously.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But he tells her basically that he plans to betray Kimber soon, but he wants to form an alliance with the Lees because he basically needs their men. He just needs the numbers. He says that he can offer them basically guaranteed race outcomes. He says we have the winner on 1 in every 3 races or something like that.
Yeah.
So he can offer them money. And then he says something like we're family on my mom's side.
Yeah.
And he says let's talk about family business. So,
which he proceeds to start talking in whatever Romanian or whatever.
Romani.
Romani?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So whatever language they're speaking, they start speaking in that.
I think it always just says like Roma.
Is it Roma? I thought it said Romanian.
I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, they start talking in their native tongue or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I think impresses her, and she. I kind of wonder if she already knew that he had Gypsy in his family or not.
I mean, I think they know who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's how the whole fight with them originates. Because Johnny Dogs, they know who their mom is. So yeah, she definitely knows who they are. Because even in the beginning, he said, when they first sit down to talk, he says a few things in that language.
That's true.
And so that's where he kind of leaves it. He wants to talk about family business.
What could that family business be about?
Whoa.
Find out later.
More to come. So then we just get a scene here between Freddie and Ava.
Ava?
Ada.
Who's Ava?
Freddie and Ada.
A new character?
Yep.
Tell me all about her.
Ada's twin sister, Ava.
Ava.
Her evil twin sister.
Evil twin sister.
So Freddie's taking a bath, and Ada confronts him about their trip to London and the money that he received while they were there. I think the London trip was supposed to be a honeymoon, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was supposed to be. That's what they were offering them.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the first offer, and then the second offer was the American trip, or the trip to go to America, because she was saying something a never-ending honeymoon or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes to London. Doesn't matter. He went to London. So.
And she just kind of confronts him about that. She wants him to focus on family. He's kind of continually putting them at risk by just even dealing with all these other communists and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And with the baby on the way, I think she's just generally worried about, their safety and their family. So she kind of confronts him about that.
Well, and we talked about it too. She never really comes out and says she's against it, like his revolution or whatever. But she didn't want that life. She didn't want to be on the run all the time. She didn't want to be living in a crappy, room or whatever. She feels like they could have a good life together, but he's so hell bent on his revolution, while at the same time seemingly torn between that and his, his new bride and soon to be newborn.
Yeah.
But you think about, man, the way they had to take baths back then.
Oh,
like
God.
What he was doing, man, that'd be horrible. Of course, it's bad enough that, he's sitting in this tiny, tiny tub, maybe a little wash tub, maybe. But yeah, he's just sitting there smoking that cigarette, taking a little cup of water or whatever, and just running it over him every once in a while. And
tin tub, scalding water, cigarette,
right. I got to get you to, wash my back for me, man, because I can't reach it. Yeah.
And then you you throw all that water out onto the street whenever you're
Even
done.
better, man. Yeah.
And I don't even know. Honestly, I got to assume that they reuse it a couple times.
I'm sure they do. Probably like a week's worth. You
They
think?
probably like boil it, like,
Well, it was
like
steamy
get it to a
hot.
boil, and
Yeah. It was steamy hot because the steam was coming off as
Yeah.
he's smoking that cigarette too. Just a weird scene.
yeah.
So,
God.
could you even imagine? It makes you appreciate though, and think about that, man. That's only like 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand, they're kind of in a poor part anyway, but still, that's like 100 years ago. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot of advancement in
Yeah.
toiletries and
I don't know.
health and
when,
wellness.
like, modern running water kind of came around. Maybe like No, because they have. I mean, they have like faucets and fixtures and stuff, you know?
Right.
So there's at least like that kind of running water. Not much about the history of plumbing.
We'll save that for another podcast. You're listening to the Plumber Podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of a curious thought. You don't have to look it up. I mean, unless you're into that. But like I said too, I mean, again, he's kind of living in. They're kind of. I don't want to say it's the slums, but I mean, they're not living in like the high end part of town.
Yeah.
You know, so of course him, I think he's living basically in a closet. You know, in the back of an alley, and maybe somebody's house that he's hiding out in. I don't know, but. Was that guy's name John C. Flood? Was that his name?
I don't know. I got a lot of like weird results whenever I pulled up first shower. The first picture is a giant beer bottle in a shower
With a
wearing
cap on,
a
isn't it?
shower cap.
You gotta love Google though, man.
Oh, okay, and then the rest of it's like all pictures of babies.
Baby's
having
first
their
shower.
First bath.
Okay, this is weird. That's why I told
Okay.
you not to look it up.
See, this is what happens when your primary search engine is Bing.
Oh, you're using Bing. Okay.
Not by choice.
Well, no. But Google would do the same thing to you, though, man. You'd
Maybe.
always get some weird stuff.
I feel like this is like the equivalent of
Go to Ask
Yahoo
Jeeves,
Answers.
man. Go to
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves.
Oh, God.
They even have that anymore?
I seriously doubt it.
Okay, we're getting way off topic, but I just wanted to know, man.
So, after that scene with Ada and Freddie, Polly meets Tommy at the garrison. She gives him a man named Stanley Chapman's address. And Stanley Chapman was the guy that Freddie was meeting with whenever they first got back from London. She says that she has a plan to satisfy Campbell. And you can kind of... I don't know. I immediately got the impression watching it that she meant for Tommy to give up Chapman, like, instead of Freddie.
Right, but, like, how did she get that address, though? That's what I want to know. Did Ada give it to her?
I mean, it pretty much says that, yeah, later, that,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay, I
that
missed
it
that
was,
part.
that it was mostly Ada's idea.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
See, that's what I'm saying, though, man. It's like she's looking out for her family. I don't think she cares about that revolution, man.
yeah. Well,
His
especially at this
revolution,
point.
whatever. Especially, yeah.
And there's so many scenes, like in the show, where it seems like it's like jumping around back and forth between a lot of different things going on or different kind of storylines going on. But like the more I watch, the more I realize that like those little scenes like lead into each other for a reason.
Yeah.
That like there was a reason that scene between Ada and Freddie was immediately followed by the scene with
Yeah.
Polly giving Tommy that information because Ada gave it to Polly,
Right.
like to make that happen.
Right. They're not just
but
random
it
scenes
doesn't-
cut together.
Yeah, but it doesn't make you feel that in the moment at all. You
Well,
only
yeah.
realize at like the end of the episode that like, oh, that's why those two random scenes were stacked up against each other.
Right, yeah.
The next section is Snowy Boots. So Tommy meets with Campbell and proposes that he could take Chapman in place of Freddy. But he's got some conditions for that. He says, before he gives him the information, he says that Ada and Freddy must be allowed to leave the city. Campbell agrees to it. But he basically paints a really dark picture for Tommy of what would happen if he's replaced by somebody else. Like what he would do before they got somebody else to come in and take care of this.
Because he's being pressured by higher ups to get this done, man. Find the guns and get out.
Yeah. And he admits to Tommy that he's like that balls in Tommy's court. Like he can't do anything, you know, like
I'm at your yeah.
Yeah. He's at his mercy kind of.
Yeah, there you go.
As far as the guns go.
Yep.
There's nothing he can do about that. But he basically alludes to the fact that he might be replaced at some point, and that if that happened before he went, he would kill Tommy and his brothers and Ada and the baby, and then Finn would be thrown in the pedophile section of an adult prison, essentially.
Yeah, that's got to boil your blood if you're anybody. I mean,
yeah.
Regardless of being told, that's got to boil your blood basically for anybody.
Yeah. I felt like Cillian Murphy did a really good job. You can see it just building over the course of the scene, like how angry he's getting about it.
Well, angry enough to draw his gun on him.
Yeah.
You know, when he's walking away.
Yeah. So Campbell threatens him and says the guns have to be returned soon. Kind of overcome by all that, when Campbell turns his back to walk away, Tommy draws his gun, but can't bring himself to shoot.
Like, angry enough to do that, but, I mean, he's able to kind of calm himself and say, no, everything's going to work out the way I expect it to. You know, just trust the plan.
Yeah.
I think you need those nerves of steel. I mean, went through what he went through. I mean, in the war and everything, you know. So, I think he's been trained well with all that.
So Campbell takes that information. He's going to lead the police in a raid on Chapman's house to confirm Tommy's findings. He plans to interrogate Chapman on Freddy's whereabouts, which was not a part of the deal. But so they break into Chapman's house, drag him out in the street, and they take him into custody. And then back at the station, Campbell basically tells Moss that they're going to pry this information out of him. And it's again, like, I think Moss kind of seeing Campbell, like, in all these different moments. They asked him, like, didn't you give your word? Like, there's a deal you made that, like, Freddy would be safe.
What a soft thing to say, though, for a cop like him. He's like, did you give your word? I mean, you gave your word, dude.
Yeah.
You pinky promised. You know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, really? Do you think I'm going to do that?
Yeah. And Campbell basically shrugs that off. Yeah, Campbell doesn't care. He's just kind of out to get what he wants, no matter the cost. We see Freddy taking flowers to his mother's grave. Polly's also there. I'm not sure whose grave she was at. She's just like cleaning up graves in general.
Did you say that he died though? Did he die in the last scene, Chapman? Or was that later on?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they've got him in.
Spoiler alert.
they've got him in interrogation. But they're gonna keep pressing him to talk, and as we're about to find out, he's not going to be able to. I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know who Polly's there cleaning up a grave for.
I don't think it would be Tommy's mom.
Maybe.
That's why I always kind of assumed it was maybe their mom, her sister,
Yeah.
or maybe her mom. I don't know.
But he knows that Freddie always comes to visit on, I think it's her birthday.
I think so. Yeah.
So that was how she was kind of able to catch him there and know that he'd be there. She tells him about the deal that's been made and how it was Ada's idea. She basically says Ada's so eager to get out of there that, she'd do anything. Freddie says it was a waste because the people in the network don't even have any information on each other, really. Like, they know each other's names, but they don't have addresses for each other. They don't have...
Well, somebody forgot to tell him that Ada was not in the network, so...
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's like, what, the third deal they tried to give to him before? Third or fourth? Do you not realize he's not going to take any deal, man? You can give him the world, he's not going to take it.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy to me that they keep trying to do it over and over. But, it's their sister, so...
Yeah. Freddie says they basically condemned Chapman to death because he's not going to be able to talk.
Right.
And they're going to keep pressing him, thinking that he does have information.
He just didn't want to say it.
Yeah. And then, like you were saying, Freddie says no matter what, like, he's not going to leave the city. Like, the only way he's leaving the city is dead. Like,
Yeah.
says in a pine box.
Yeah.
So Chapman dies in interrogation.
What? He did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't know what happened. It kind of looked like they were just dragging knives across him. Like,
I always thought it was like whips, but yeah I guess it'd be
maybe.
knives or whatever.
It's
But
just
I'm guessing
massive,
he just, died
like
from the shock or whatever, and the pain and everything. Yeah, I mean,
massive cuts all over his body, like
brutal,
arms and
man.
legs and
Of course,
back.
he's chained up,
Yeah.
arm to arm.
Yeah.
God, man, bloody all over. Of course, he's so bloody that, I mean, you can tell how appalled Moss is at the scene.
Yeah.
And of course, he's sitting there saying to Moss, it was like, he's dead. Like, I didn't think we were going to take it this far or whatever. He wouldn't say anything. And then that famous quote, he was like, this is not Belfast, dude.
Yeah.
This is not Belfast. You can't just do whatever you want. You can't just kill people at random and if they didn't give you something or whatever. I mean, we actually have some law and justice here.
Yeah.
According to Moss, but,
Yeah. Well, and I think Campbell, too, has come in. I don't think he's really been greenlit to do everything that he's doing.
No,
like,
he's not.
he's just coming into Birmingham with the same mentality that he had in Belfast, and it's like two completely different situations.
Right.
In Belfast, the IRA had like a hold of Belfast.
Right, yeah.
Like in Birmingham, it's much more like small time. Like, just by comparison, you can see how like afraid the Blinders and a lot of the other gangs and organizations are of the IRA.
Right, yeah.
And so they basically had the green light to go into Belfast, and it was shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, don't ask any questions, just go.
Yeah. So Moss doubts Campbell's methods, but Campbell tells Moss to cover up the cause of death. He says he fell down some stairs. It's like, find some stairs, throw him down it, and call the coroner.
All those cuts on his
not-
back,
yeah.
It don't line up, man.
No.
I come up with a better one than that. He was attacked by a lion. I don't know. He just got back from Africa. I don't know, man.
Something happened.
Something happened. Bees? I don't know, man.
So outside of the Blinders book, Billy Kimber and his accountant talk about profits since the Blinders took over on protection for them at the racetracks. Profits have been up since Blinders have taken over. They're just not hemorrhaging money like they were before.
Right.
So Tommy meets him outside, and he takes him inside to kind of take a look around, and to meet John, Scud, and Lovelock. They're going to be Tommy's team on the track, basically. He says that John's the book, Scudboat's the bagman, so I think he's carrying all the money and everything. And then Lovelock is their protection, basically. So Kimber basically tells them that they'll get their first pitch where they can set up. I believe he says like a week from Sunday. I can't remember what race he says it is, but
I don't remember.
That'll be the first one where they can set up and kind of do their own thing. He just says, what do you say, 100 yards from the beer tent. At least 100 yards away from the beer tent. So Kimber's accountant gives Tommy the license, and Clap Hands by Tom Waits plays as Tommy gathers everybody together to make his announcement that Shelby Family Company has received its first legal betting license, essentially. I think he says it in a different way. Its first legal pitch or something like that. But
I don't remember. But didn't he say... Oh, no, never mind. Yeah.
what?
I thought you said something about it's like their family's gone legal or something. I don't remember.
Their family... Oh. Yeah, I mean, I kind of know what you're talking about, but he basically says that that's their first legal betting license.
I can't remember if it's in this episode or it was an episode we already covered where he's talking to either... I think it was Arthur. He was saying something about what would our granddad say? Eh? Honest money? Eh? He'd be rolling over in his grave. Yeah, in this house, in this family?
Yeah. So after that, we've got Grace looking over the books with Arthur. She's basically just kind of trying to pry into some of their business and see what's going on. She's asking Arthur about storage and stuff.
Well, the books are a mess.
Yeah.
For starters, and that's kind of her way into it. To kind of start looking at him and talking to him about all that different stuff.
Which is weird because I imagined that Arthur was not the one keeping the books, that Polly had most likely been the one keeping the books. So I didn't really know why they were in, like, such disarray, you know?
Yeah, but they had just owned it, though. They just started owning it.
Oh, for the garrison.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but they're not. It's not just for the garrison though, because
was it all their stuff?
They're talking about alcohol and tobacco that
Yeah,
they're
but
storing
they're
places
doing it
and stuff.
all through the garrison, though.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they're funneling it all
Yeah,
through the garrison.
I mean, it's your front.
Yeah.
You know, to make it look legitimate, or keep everything legal or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like you said, she's snooping.
Yeah.
She's a snooper.
Snooper's gonna snoop.
Snooper's got a snoop.
So she's looking over the books with them. She's kind of trying to pry in, see what's going on, find out the locations of some of the places that they might be storing the guns out at. But she gives those locations to Campbell, and he and the police search all of them for the stolen guns. But they don't find anything.
Nothing but the tobacco and some alcohol, I think.
Yeah.
Is what they were saying.
I mean, just the stuff that they already knew was there.
Right, yeah.
And even though it's all contraband, they didn't do anything about it or take any of it or destroy any of it.
Well, would have given it right away, yeah.
Yeah, because it would have just exposed Grace.
Right, exactly.
Tommy takes Grace into the church to kind of further test her. At first, he's kind of telling her that he wants her to come and work for them. That she's good with the books. Arthur says that she's good with numbers. She's got the face. Like, she's got kind of stuff he needs. He compares Kimber's accountant, somebody who's a little more straight, and
clean cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody who'll do well in those high society situations.
Right, yep.
But then he kind of takes a turn and he starts calling her out for some stuff. She was saying before that she was Catholic, and he took her into the church, and she didn't make the sign of the cross. So now we know she's not Catholic. He says you pour a pint like somebody who's thinking about it.
Right, yeah.
So she says that she lied to fit in. So he knows that she's still lying about who she is and where she's been. And
he's tallying up the score.
Yeah, but also I feel like a part of him doesn't really care, because he's kind of slowly falling in love with her. But at the same time, when I kind of thought about that earlier, I was like, well, he also, I think the last thing he would have thought was that she was, an agent, like...
Well, we talked about it before, too, either on the last episode or after, just talking between you and me, maybe afterwards, but about, like, do you even think there's a hint that he thinks that she's, like, a spy or something, trying to infiltrate? I don't know. I mean, he's very, he's a private guy. He doesn't let a lot of things out. Of course, they're not going to in the show, but I don't know. Going back and watching the first season makes me think about stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I wonder when he really, we get to some points where it's like, okay, he knows. He definitely knows. But then you kind of trace back, you're like, well, did he have some, little hints here and there before that maybe he thought that she was that, or was it just something like this where it's like, oh, she's just a liar,
Well, I think by the end of this episode are some of, like, the first big clues for him.
Right, yeah, for sure. Which we'll get to eventually. We're getting there.
But even with all that, Tommy still wants her to work for him in a bigger capacity, taking care of their accounts, the books, and that also he's going to need her for some of these big events and stuff. She does accept, and then he kisses her.
Gives into that temptation.
Yep. So after that, Tommy's sitting in his car. He sees Lizzie Stark walking down the road. Tells her to get in. He wants to talk to her. Basically, he's kind of testing her there. She tells him that past is the past. Like, she doesn't want to lose John. And
I love him.
Yeah. But Tommy doesn't really believe her, so he kind of puts his test out. He's laying money down on the seat the whole time, and basically he proposes that they get together one last time.
I like how he's putting it down, too. He's not like just throwing it all down at once. He's like, what, one bill? Two bill?
It's like
bill?
each time he would like say a sentence, then it was like one more bill down.
Here's another bill.
He's like, yeah, change is good.
Right,
change is very good.
Here's another one.
Put some more bills down.
Yeah.
So she basically takes the bait, and when he realizes that she's going to do it, he says, so the past is not the past. And he basically tells her that John's going to make his own mind up about this, but he's going to have all the facts. Right. Like, he's going to know what happened there.
Of course, she comes back. I think she comes back with saying your brother's more of a man than you are. What?
Of course, she's just like gotta slam him on the way out the door.
Right, yeah. I gotta have the last word.
Yeah. And I don't know, at first you're kind of like, why does Tommy get to dictate, like, who they're going to marry and stuff like that? But also, it's almost like Tommy's got enough stuff going on that they don't need to bring...
I think he's trying to be careful about it.
Yeah. You don't need to bring in, like, a
to
wild card like that, too,
Yeah. Well, and then I think probably at the same time he's probably worried about his brother and concerned for him, or whatever. Want what's best for him, I don't know.
And I do think part of it is, like, reputation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they,
We can't be having whores in our family, man.
Yeah, they're trying to move, they're trying to improve their station in the world.
Right.
Like, not,
yeah,
make themselves look worse. So after that, Campbell meets Grace in yet another museum, and tells her about the raids. They didn't find they didn't find the guns. All they found was the tobacco and the alcohol. She tells him about her promotion, and Campbell feels like she's getting too close to Tommy, basically. He's worried about her. He feels like she's going to put herself in harm's way. But then also, I think he probably sees, too, a little bit that...
Was they worried or jealous?
Yeah, she's definitely, like, almost excited, like, about, like,
Right.
her promotion and stuff, But yeah, again, just Campbell being...
Campbell.
Campbell being Campbell.
Gotta love Campbell.
The last section is called The Wedding. So John's cleaning up the family car, when Tommy comes to tell him about what happened with Lizzie. He wants John to make his own choice up about that, but he just, like we said, he wants him to have all the information and kind of know what he'd be getting himself into. And when he lays it all out for him, he says, you can go. Like, yeah. But John drops the keys and storms out. At the garrison, Tommy toasts with Grace over her new position. And he basically wants her to... This is, again, like... scenes being laid next to each other that seemingly have nothing to do with each other, but so they toast her a new position, and he wants Grace to get a message through to Ada, and all he says is it's about a family occasion or about family business, and so that's kind of that scene, just super short and sweet there.
Short, yeah.
But it sets up the next one. Tommy returns home from the garrison and hears someone in his apartment. He draws his gun and enters to find John trying to use his opium pipe. He can't even get it lit. He says, I can't even do that right.
Right,
man. John talked to Lizzie, and she said that everything Tommy said was a lie. But when John went and bought some drinks for, I think he said, Lizzie's cousin and her sister or something.
Something like that, yeah.
They told her that she was still seeing some of her regular customers. John's just really upset. Like, he just feels really stupid. Like, he feels like Tommy just thinks he's really stupid.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's got to be an
this.
embarrassing moment,
Yeah.
Feel degraded. But I think this is the part, too, that I was talking about earlier. I think Tommy's talking to John when he was talking about, hey, man, business is good, man. We're going legitimate. What would our granddad say? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And he didn't even say, that was the thing there too. He didn't even say we have a legal betting license. Like when he was talking to John there, he said, "You're the first Shelby
That's
to
true,
have
yeah.
a legal license for anything."
Right.
And yeah, and then he said, "What would our granddad say about that honest money in this house?" And then yeah, they just kind of share a laugh over it. John says that Tommy always used to do voices and impressions when they were kids.
Yeah.
But then Tommy tells them that they're not kids anymore. Just kind of trying to draw him back, but he tells John to go home and get some rest because tomorrow they're going to be finishing the war with the Lees. So the next morning, all the blinders, it's a pretty big group there, all the usuals, and then Uncle Charlie, Curly, I think that's probably it. And
Basically, I mean,
Scud-
Scud, I think, and
Lovelock, all
random
the
guy number 1, random guy number 2,
Yep. So everybody's there. They're all getting together for what looks like is going to be a fight. I guess basically John's the only one who thinks they're going into a fight.
Right. Well, I mean,
so it's super awkward.
Right. So they all come together, and of course, Tommy's doing his rally of the troops speech, and so they're all just standing around staring at Johnny like, "What are you looking at, man? What are you looking at?"
Yeah. So everyone's acting weird. John doesn't know why. But as they approach the Lee camp, John kind of gets nervous, starts asking Tommy, what's the plan? Like, we're in range. Like, what are we about to do? And everybody pulls out a flower for John. I guess it's a corsage. I never know like the right names for all those things.
Just a flower.
Like,
just go with a flower.
But it's to pin on his jacket. And basically it's kind of revealed there. Tommy plans to marry John to one of the Lee girls to kind of cement the alliance between their families. To make it a real hard point, like, if we do this, we are bound by blood. Like, they're with us,
Right. Well, and the one he was going to marry was, what did he call her, like a Hellraiser or something like that?
He said they have a girl who's, he said, gone a bit wild or something like that.
Wild, yeah.
Yeah. And that she needs marrying off, but he sells to John like a husband that needs a wife and a wife that needs a husband.
Right, exactly. Of course, he starts freaking out. He's like, you're not going to make me do this, man.
Yeah.
You're not going to make me. Of course, he's starting to kind of fight back all the guys. And then Tommy kind of grabs him, shakes him to it, and he says that line, man, give it to me. Say it, man.
Oh.
Because I like this line. I think it was a pretty good line.
Yeah, it's going to, if you don't marry her,
this,
because I've already betrothed you. If you don't do this, there's going to be one hell of a war here, and it's going to make the Somme look like a fucking tea party.
Right, yeah. Just I mean, that's bad, dude, because, like, the Somme was, like, one of the worst battles in World War I.
Yeah.
So, and he should know. He was there firsthand, so.
Yeah. So John decides to go through with it, but he's worried that the woman's going to be, there's basically going to be some old lady.
Old lady.
Yeah. But when they sit down to begin the ceremony, John realizes that she's young and beautiful. Ada shows up to the wedding. Her and Tommy have a little conversation during the ceremony about how Freddie won't speak to her after kind of what she did with Chapman. I put down the mingling of the two bloods, which was part of the ceremony. They cut each of their hands and basically mixed blood there as a part of the end of the ceremony.
Oh, God, think of all the diseases.
Oh, God, and especially back then.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So at the that's basically the end of the wedding. After that, they have basically a reception. I put after party, but it's basically a reception.
That's an after party.
They're drinking, dancing, music's playing. Ada's drinking a lot and dancing a lot. She's just kind of all over the place.
I think she's like letting loose because, I mean, it's all been built up because she's been trapped in a hole in the wall for God knows how long now with Freddy.
Yeah, because they've been hiding out. Like, they can't go out anywhere. Like, they're always just in there.
Right.
She starts yelling at Tommy. And kind of at the height of it, she starts to go into labor, just kind of from the stress, and her water breaks. After getting Ada, they rush her out of there. They get her someplace safe. I don't know if it's Polly's place or if it's. I don't think it's Ada.
Like it was
and
back
Freddy's
at
place.
no, but it looked like it was back at the book. Because weren't they? It looked like they were at the
Maybe.
like in that little like dining room area or whatever that they've been at before. Like they've had some family meetings there. I was thinking the book.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, I had no clue where they were. So Aunt Polly basically says that Freddy should be there, and Tommy says that he can come, that it's safe, that this truce they've got going on will last until sunrise. So I guess she sends word to Freddy somehow to head that way.
she didn't call on the old cell phone.
Yeah. It's like Grace says that she installed that phone.
Oh yeah.
And Tommy's
They're
like, that's great. He's like, if we knew anyone else with a phone,
We could call him.
Yeah. So who knows how she got a hold of him so quick, but
Carrier pigeon.
yep.
Put my money on that, man.
Okay.
Big old hawk.
At the garrison, the guys are all getting drunk. John, Arthur, Tommy. John kind of drunkenly tells Grace that Freddy's going to be there for the birth of his child, which winds up being a huge mistake because also very quickly Grace manages to get a message to, although there are phones at the police station.
That's
So
true.
we have seen
So,
that, yeah.
Maybe that was kind of foreshadowing there when Tommy said, you know, we have a phone now. Well, if we knew somebody who also had a phone, we could call them.
Yeah.
Well, we do. So,
Yeah.
or at least Grace knows somebody with a phone. And almost makes you wonder if she installed it for that purpose of getting messages to them quicker.
Maybe. But she tells Campbell. So we see Freddy running through the street. He's trying to get to Ada, and he arrives just after the birth of his son. He's only in the house for like a minute before the police come in and drag him away from Ada and the baby and take him into custody. Super dramatic scene there where they drag him out of the house.
No. Kicking and screaming.
Yeah. Back at the garrison, Arthur and John sing. I didn't put down a song there. I must not have.
I think they're more or less just mumbling to
Just,
each other.
yeah.
Drunkenly.
Just drunkenly babbling.
Plus, they were in like the background. I mean, like you couldn't even see them because they were in the snug. Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Door was closed and he was outside talking with Grace at the bar. So.
Which I don't think it's popped up yet. I want to say it's next episode, but there's a scene where Tommy calls it the snug. And
okay.
I was like Leo on the couch pointing at the TV.
Yeah.
I was like that. Oh. So Arthur and John sing. Polly bursts into the bar and starts hitting Tommy. She says that Ada had a boy, but the police came and took Freddie away. And she thinks that Tommy tipped him off. Again, Cillian Murphy, just great acting. Like, you can see the genuine, I don't know what you're talking about.
He's like, hey, it's Polly, man. Oh, God, why you hitting me? And then,
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
But she's mad because she thinks he's lying. She thinks that he tipped off the cops. She calls him a liar, spits at him. And kind of as she leaves, we get a shot of Tommy with a focus on Grace in the background behind him, to kind of show you that she was the one who made the call. Like, she was the one who made that happen. Which probably was just, it got them what they wanted, but that really exposes her. Like, I feel like that really makes Tommy be like...
kind of a dumb move, though, because... And I think we said in the last episode, too, it's like... You just... Okay, they just said something to you about Freddie coming. And not even a few minutes later, Polly's coming in saying, well, they just took him away. Because he just came to see his baby, and then they took him away at the house. Well, who the hell knew it was there? Oh, wait a minute, I just told you. Yeah, so, that's like where it's like definitive. Okay, he's got to know that was her, you know? And that she's, like, been spying on them the whole time, So.
Yeah.
Infiltrating. Yeah. Operative, as Campbell likes to say.
Operative.
They're operatives. They're not spies.
That is it for this one. We'll be back next week with Season 1, Episode 5.